The latest on a triple homicide in the small community of New Lisbon. The killer still at large and what police are telling the public. Plus, we are just over 6 hours away from the new year. The activities going on in our community and different ways people are celebrating. Then we take a look at the year in Wisconsin politics, how state politicians are remembering a year in the legislature. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. This just into the newsroom. UW Health in Madison has released a statement saying the two people who were in critical condition following the Abundant Life Christian School shooting are now in stable condition. The statement continues on saying the families are asking a continued respect for privacy and thank American Family Children's Hospital for their continued care. One adult and two minors are dead in New Lisbon. Police found the bodies in a residence Monday night. With authorities still searching for the person of interest, Maddie Heim spoke to neighbors who say they're on high alert.
I hurried up, ran in my house, locked my doors, shut all the lights off, turned the TV off, hid in the bathroom with my dog.
Christina Johnson and other neighbors tell me at first they didn't think much of the police presence on West Bridge Street.
I had seen the cops, so I had come out my front door and I was being a nosy neighbor, thought it had been a drug bust or someone had been pulled over.
But when they learned the presence was because 3 people in the home behind me were dead, they were terrified.
So I was just standing out here watching and I had gotten a message from my girlfriend saying, hey, there had been a murder in New Lisbon. Lock your doors. They haven't caught the suspect yet.
The suspect, 47-year-old Virgil Thew. Approximately 150 pounds and 5'10", Thew was last seen wearing a dark coat, blue jeans, and a hat. Police are calling him armed and dangerous.
That's extremely unnerving. When I found out that there was a murder and that he was on the loose, I was, totally terrified.
The bodies were found following a person search that began Sunday night when the Juneau County Sheriff's Office learned one minor was missing. That person was last seen with Thew. On Monday, as the New Lisbon Police Department joined the search, they were made aware that another minor was also missing. The search for both brought officers to West Bridge Street. Johnson, who has family also living in town, says the whole community is locking their doors as they wait on more information.
Everybody is terrified.
Police are reminding people that if they see the person of interest, not to approach and to instead call 911 immediately. Reporting in New Lisbon, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
Maddie, thank you. Authorities cannot tell us when new information would be released, but they say the latest updates will be posted to the New Lisbon Police Department Facebook page. The Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation is looking into a case where a man suspected in a vehicle theft was found unresponsive in Madison police custody. Officers responded to the reported theft around 8:30 last night at the Best Western on Anna Mark Drive. After chasing the man on foot, he was taken into custody, evaluated by EMS, and brought to the Dane County Jail. After arriving to the jail, the man was found unresponsive. No weapons were fired, and the involved officers are now on administrative leave. A 17-year-old is dead and a 19-year-old is in custody following a crash last night in Waukesha. Police say that around 7:30 last night, a vehicle had rolled over at the intersection of East Sunset Drive and Guthrie Road near Manuka Park. The 17-year-old was airlifted to a nearby hospital, but later died from their injuries. Everyone else involved have been treated and since released. On further investigation, officers say a vehicle driven by the 19-year-old ran the stop sign and hit 2 others. That 19-year-old was arrested for operating while intoxicated, and they are expected to be charged with homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. And now look at your first one forecast. Meteorologist Blaze Keller joins us now from the weather patio. Blaze.
Yeah, I had to add on that extra layer to my coat because we are starting really our prolonged cool down as we begin to wrap up the year and go into the start of the new year. We'll talk about all of that in the full forecast. For now, though, we did have a little bit of snow earlier today, mainly during the morning through the early afternoon hours, staying mainly south of Lodi, really. Maybe just a trace towards Lodi, even further north, maybe just a snowflake or two, but further south, as expected, that's kind of where we picked up probably about a ½ inch to an inch of snow, but a lot of that melted as our temperatures were able to climb back above freezing, and because our ground has been a little bit warmer than average because of our temperatures, a lot of that snow melted on the ground as well. New Year's celebrations right around the corner. Maybe we're getting ready for them. We're looking at quiet conditions, maybe a few lingering flurries, especially earlier on into the evening, but with mostly cloudy skies. Again, maybe just a few snowflakes falling, but otherwise no accumulating snow or really any weather to impact you as you're ringing in and celebrating the new year. Temperatures are in the upper 20s to about the mid 30s right now. Here's a look at where we are going to end our night in those low 20s. As I mentioned, we'll talk about that prolonged cool down in the full forecast.
Sounds good, Blaze. We'll see you then. You are taking a live look at Times Square in New York City, where the ball will drop in just under 5 hours from now. At midnight, Eastern time, of course. City planners are expecting as many as 1 million people to pack Times Square to celebrate the new year tonight. And Madison businesses sure know how to ring in the new year with a variety of different types of parties, activities, and more. Armand Rahman shows us how much of a boost the last day of the year is.
It's not your ordinary Tuesday for businesses in downtown Madison when it's time to ring in the new year.
3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, everybody.
Don't worry, you didn't miss midnight. Madison's Children's Museum did their own human ball drop several times during the day to give area kiddos their own countdown experience. They saw dozens of families of all ages come out for a dance party in their Wonderground space. Staff say they've had New Year's parties for a long time, but have had outdoor dance parties since the COVID pandemic and have seen a lot of families come celebrate that way.
We find parents are looking for something to do that's festive with their kids, but that doesn't involve keeping their kids awake until midnight or even, 9 p.m. So we always have a lot of fun during the day here. We're also one of the few places open on New Year's Day, so we're open all day tomorrow if families are looking for fun.
The Children's Museum is open for MMSD's full winter break, so every day through Sunday, January 5th. We'll show you some more New Year's Eve activities coming up on News 3 Now at 6. For now, reporting in downtown Madison, Armand Rahman, News 3 Now.
Armand, thank you. The U.S. Treasury Department has notified lawmakers a China state-sponsored actor infiltrated Treasury workstations in what officials are describing as a major incident. In a letter, a Treasury official said it was informed by the third-party software service that a threat actor used a stolen key to remotely access certain Treasury workstations and unclassified documents. A Treasury spokesperson said the compromised service has been taken offline and officials are working with law enforcement. And despite inflation, some everyday products actually dropped in price this year. While overall prices of everyday goods and services were up 2.5% from January through November, a number of items cost less. Home heating oil was down nearly 17% during that period. Gasoline was down 7.6%. Consumer technology dropped 6.7%. And used car prices were down 4.6%. Also lower, men's suits, women's dresses and outerwear, toys, frozen baked goods, crackers, and canned vegetables. It was a busy year in news, especially for Wisconsin politics. Political reporter Will Keneally asked those at the center of the politics here in Wisconsin what stood out to them from this past year.
The biggest headline. Wow, biggest headline from 2024?
The biggest headline. It's not from a state perspective, but I think the elections are really probably the biggest headlines. You got, like we just talked about, a change in leadership.
It's hard to undersell the impact of this November's election, especially with Wisconsin playing such a pivotal role.
What kind of opportunities that will or won't bring for whether it be state government or for communities and the taxpayers in general.
Both the national election and local elections here at home.
Wow, biggest headline from 2024? Senate Democrats flip 4 seats.
Voss survives 2 recalls, a primary, and an independent crazy person running in the general. How about that?
But it was also a year of policy changes in Wisconsin.
But I think that we had a good session. We had a good last session. A lot to be proud of. Shared revenue deal, an alcohol bill, save the brewers. We were able to fund literacy in schools. A lot of positive things.
Fair maps come to Wisconsin. Yeah, that was really significant, right? It had been over a decade of arguably the most gerrymandered legislative maps in the country, leaving Democrats really no path to a majority under the old maps. And now things have really changed.
And this all sets up another close year of politics in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin continues to be on a knife's edge politically.
Well, thank you. Lawmakers return to the Capitol next week. Medicare beneficiaries who take a lot of pricey medications will get a bigger break in 2025. That's when the $2,000 annual cap on out-of-pocket costs for drugs from pharmacy or through mail order goes into effect. The limit is one of the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act's provisions to lower prescription drug prices for Medicare enrollees. Before the law, there was no cap. A major contract deadline is looming for the East Gulf Coast port workers, which threaten U.S. red meat exports if no agreement is reached by January 15th. The U.S. Meat Export Federation warns a work stoppage could cost over $100 million per week in beef and pork exports. Contract talks between the International Longshoremen's Association and the U.S. Maritime Alliance stalled in November. Exporters are already diverting shipments, and some ports may stop accepting refrigerated cargo. A look at the next few colder days as we kick off the new year. That's ahead in your first warned forecast. Plus, if you have troubles keeping up your New Year's resolutions, a clinical psychologist might have a trick to help you stick to those goals. And a look on Wall Street today, the Dow is down nearly 30 points, the Nasdaq is down 175, and the S&P is down 25 points. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Thank you for staying with us. We're just a few hours away from 2025, and many may be vowing to do something different in the new year. Whether you're resolving to be healthier, happier, or have a specific goal in mind, staying motivated to achieve those goals can be pretty hard. In today's Health Minute with Mandy Gaither, she has more with a psychologist on how to make this New Year's resolution stick.
a new you in the new year. But if you keep making the same resolutions without results, you're not alone.
Research indicates that year after year, people tend to set the same exact goal. And this really shows that there is a gap between what we want and what we do.
Psychologist Susan Albers with Cleveland Clinic says there are simple ways to set yourself up for success in 2025 when setting resolutions. Be specific and realistic. Instead of saying be more active, set a goal of working out a certain number of days a week for a specific amount of time. Next, she says to try habit stacking. Pairing two habits together can help keep those behaviors going.
So, for example, if you drink your cup of coffee every morning routinely, and you want to start getting moving and exercising, that very next behavior after you have your cup of coffee, maybe go for a walk, do some stretches, do some yoga.
Albert says to also focus on process goals, not outcome goals. For instance, aim to eat a serving of veggies with each meal rather than to lose 20 pounds. And practice self-compassion. She says it'll help you bounce back from setbacks. And get support. Sharing goals with others can help you reach them. Finally, stay on top of your progress.
When we write down what we are working on, research indicates that this significantly helps us to keep on track.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Albers also says to also try the if-then strategy to keep yourself on track. For example, if it's raining and you can't exercise outside as usual, have a plan for physical activity that can be done indoors. She says research also shows we find it easier to start a new behavior rather than quit one. So instead of vowing to stop eating so much sugar, try aiming to eat more fruits and veggies with each meal. Let's get a look at your First One forecast. Blaze joins us now. Blaze.
Few flurries possible as we say goodbye to 2024 and ring in 2025. But for the most part, as we are celebrating the new year, we should be quiet, just mostly cloudy and breezy. And then we start to usher in our prolonged cool down with a little bit more sunshine towards the end of the day for that first day of the new year. Future Track Bigger Picture shows really a high pressure system, and a series of them are going to be coming out of the northwest, and that's going to really help kind of clear out some of this cloud clutter as we go into the last half of this work week. So clouds will be clearing as we go into the second half of the day. We're looking at Future Track at about 5:30, so maybe some last peaks of sunshine before we go overnight into Thursday. Thursday, a little blip of energy is going to scoot through the Midwest. You can see here that most of us are probably not going to see any snow, but along the state line, kind of like today, our southernmost communities could squeeze out maybe an inch or less as we go Thursday into Friday. But then high pressure, again, moves on in and clears out those clouds as we go into your Friday afternoon. High pressure systems really tend to do that. They really open up the skies. And as we go into the winter months, they become stronger. So when we have those clear days, it's most likely going to be cooler as well. And we're in for not only the cold, but maybe some sunshine here over the next 10 days as well. There's a look at the estimated snow totals as we go into your Friday morning. So this will be throughout the day on Thursday. As I mentioned, folks further to the south, I would say even south of Madison, you probably have the best chance at a dusting to maybe a half an inch of snow. There's been some rumors about whether or not this weekend we could see some snow, but as I just mentioned, these high pressure systems, they're strong and they act like a big bubble. And that system that was kind of popping up on our models Sunday into next Monday is going to, at least for now, be forced further to our south because of those incoming highs. But if that changes, we'll of course keep you updated. The big picture now is the prolonged cool down. We're sitting underneath a 70 to 80% chance of sitting underneath cooler than average temperatures from the 6th through the 10th, and that extends even into the next 8 to 14 days. We're still underneath that 70 to 80% chance of sitting underneath cooler than average temperatures. I have a whole write-up about this in our latest Beyond the Barometer, but in short, the reason why we're going to stay so cold is because of the jet stream and how it's kind of set up to our west. We've got a ridge developing across parts of Alaska as well as northwestern parts of Canada. Underneath that ridge, we find warmer air where we're seeing these oranges. So where do we take the cooler air that was once sitting over Alaska to make room for the warmer air? We get it. We're going to be sitting underneath those cooler temperatures at least for the next 14 days. The darker the blue to me indicates the higher the confidence level, and that just means that it's probably not going to be going away anytime soon. How do we get rid of the cooler air? If you're already tired of it and it hasn't even gotten here yet, we need that ridge to either weaken or move. So until that happens, we're going to likely be sitting underneath these cooler than average temperatures. But we see more sunshine, maybe some flurries there Sunday through next Wednesday, but temperatures will be pretty much in those teens to 20s over the next 7 to 10 days.
Sounds good, Blaze. Just after the break, a bar without booze. How a bar on the East Coast is helping create new traditions that aren't centered around alcohol.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
For millions of Americans looking to start off the new year sober, Dry January presents the opportunity to focus on one's well-being and can be the start of an alcohol-free lifestyle. But going without a beer, glass of wine, or cocktail can be a challenge for people who enjoy socializing at bars and restaurants. One entrepreneur in Washington, D.C. is looking to change that by opening the district's first bar without booze.
Maple syrup, coffee, a little bit of non-alcoholic bourbon.
My name is Virgie Arandid.
We're gonna give it a shake.
Everybody calls me Gigi, and I am the founder of Washington, D.C.'s first fully non-alcoholic bar, Binge.
That, my friend, is a non-alcoholic espresso martini.
Dry January is insane.
We're rolling out our Dry January binge incantations, which is pretty much a signature cocktails.
I really love that culture where everybody kind of like is so focused on bettering themselves.
Do you want to have your usual?
Sober curiosity, it's no longer a trend that happens during Dry January. This is people's lifestyle. I decided to stop drinking 7 years ago. I got a DUI and I was instructed to attend the AA meetings and a bunch of other requirements to get me out of it. I just thought that enable for me to manage my sobriety if I was to go long term, I don't think that going to AA would be enough. I didn't really stop going to bars or going to restaurants when I stopped drinking. We used to only be able to order water and sodas and sugary drinks. What we serve here at Binge are elegant and elevated non-alcoholic cocktails. If this is that time for you to kind of reevaluate your experience or relationship with alcohol, there are tons of people out there in the same boat as you are. We try to make sure that everybody that steps into this space feel welcome.
Thank you very much.
Not because I'm Filipino and we're we're naturally hospitable, but because they feel a sense of security, a sense of familiarity. Connection is kind of easy.
The USDA is investing over $7.5 million in 26 projects aimed at reducing food waste and greenhouse gas emissions. Selected projects will span multiple states, including the Sun Prairie Food Rescue Pilot, with it running through 2027. By promoting composting and sustainable food waste practices, the USDA aims to enhance food security, protect the environment, and strengthen urban agricultural systems. And right now, the solar system is ringing in the new year with a spectacular light show. The northern lights could be visible as far south as Oregon and Illinois on New Year's Eve. The NOAA Space Center Prediction Center has issued a geomagnetic storm warning fueled by a period of solar maximum activity. To catch the lights, head to a dark area with clear skies. And don't forget, your phone camera might capture more of the lights than your eyes can see. A final check of your First One forecast is coming up when we return.
Coming up tonight on the CBS Evening News, Countdown 2025. Millions gather to welcome a new year, but first, we take a look at all the security preparations before the clock strikes midnight. That and more headlines tonight on the CBS Evening News.
So Blaze, before we head into the new year, it's been a wild year in news, but in particular weather.
Yeah.
What are some moments that stood out to you this year?
Well, you know, the three, but they're not 4. But 2 of them are out in space. You know, we had 2 really good Northern Light show. Probably not going to see the one tonight here because of the clouds. But, you know, we had the one in October that Armand did a whole story about. And then back in May, we had one as well. The comet that we're never going to see again. And then obviously those 2 historic February tornadoes. Now making essentially our entire severe weather season all year round. So it has been an interesting year, to say the least.
And it seems as if we're going to start off the new year not ideal necessarily.
On the colder side, yeah. You know, it's wild because last winter was Wisconsin's warmest winter on record, and it looks like at least for this first chunk of January, it's going to be cooler than average, well below where we should be for this time of year. And it looks to stick around for maybe the first 2 weeks, the middle of January. So buckle up, get out the winter coats, because you're going to be wearing them for quite some time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Blaze. We'll see you back here at 6. The CBS Evening News start.